Welcome into Kitchen Talk Pickleball Edition. I'm your host, Caitlin Miller, and this week joining us is Karen Geiger. Karen is an award-winning author, also speech pathologist, but has more so gone into the realm of pickleball. So Karen, tell me a little bit about your story. I know you're also a huge pickleball player yourself.
I am, Caitlin. Thank you so much for having me. So the pickleball journals started with basically I'm a writer and I started teaching journaling because I spearheaded a journal class for the Erie Cancer Wellness Center. And in doing that, I thought I need to bring this more to the masses. So I wrote my very first journal, which is called Storied Life Journal. And I am a pickleball player. I've played tennis for over 40 years. And then, age, injury, I needed a smaller court to work within. So I picked up pickleball and I thought I need to bring this mindfulness and this creative outlet to pickleball players. So I wrote Dink, which is a journal. It is not, there isn't, I don't go into this is what pickleball is and this is how you hit a dink. No, this is a journal for pickleball players. And then I also wrote Drives, which is a pickleball planner with mantras and motivational tips from a pro. So I'm very proud of these two, kind of adding both sides of my world into two books.
That's awesome. And I know I actually just had, speaking of mindfulness, I just had
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Eric Coram on the podcast. And
Yes.
I learned, I feel like so many people are just like not aware. Like it's like, at least as an athlete, obviously mental game is huge, but like you always focus on like getting in better shape physically, getting faster, getting better hand speed. But it's like so many people I feel like stray away from the mental side or the mindfulness side of the game. So, what are some of the things like that you have in your journals that really can help athletes, translate that to the courts?
That is such a great point because I think that we're so geared towards let's lift weights, let's get heavier
Yeah.
and stronger and faster. But journaling is, I like to equate it to lifting. It's the lifting for your brain. You're doing some extra things to not only create mindfulness, but journaling is actually proven to improve your lung function, your liver function. It can boost your immunity. It can reduce stress and it helps you problem solve. So journaling is very important for that frontal lobe, which is kind of it is your executive function. So problem solving, categorizing, prioritizing, how you deal with situations in the moment. So when we're on the court and, that ball's coming at you and you have all of the different, shots that you're running through your head thinking, am I dinking? Am I lobbing? Am I driving? It helps you to slow that down so that you can make a judgment that is hopefully appropriate for the situation. So especially in dinks, what I have is I go through kind of the different levels of being a player. You have your beginner, your intermediate, your advanced player. And what I do is I do a little breakdown of what it means to be a beginner on the court and off the court. And then I give prompts that allow you to discover who you are off the court so that you can hopefully have a better sense of yourself on the court. So
Interesting.
like the third prompt is, how do you prepare for the day? So they're not hard. And that's what I really like to impress upon people is that these aren't meant to be difficult. It's a quick habit. You're supposed to write without editing. But then the next page, or maybe it was the page before, is, how do you prepare for the court? So it's two different ideas,
Yes.
but coming together.
And is that so? How do you prepare for the day? How do you prepare for the court? Is that something you ask like beginner, intermediate, and advanced players, or as you make your way up the level as a player, do the questions change too?
They do. So every day
Okay.
that you pick up your journal, you get a different prompt.
Okay.
So each day has a different prompt, and then you have daily dinks of gratitude. So you're always noticing that little special something that you can be grateful for. And again, we're not making this huge. You know, maybe you got to play pickleball today and that was what you're grateful for.
Right.
Maybe you didn't have any aches and pains. Maybe you had a great cup of coffee. And then the power shots and priorities. So that is, you know, the writer can use that for whatever suits their needs. If it's the priority of just something important in their day, or if it's a priority on the court. And then you have the court time, and this is how many games. You know, I have 8 games. Your score, areas of excellence that you displayed on the court, areas to improve, and areas of focus for next time. So you're evaluating your game in retrospect. You know, what did I do great today? I had great serves. What do I
Right.
need to work on? My backhand block, which I always need to work on my backhand
Yes.
block.
No, it's a hard shot.
Yes. And then as you progress in the journal, absolutely, the prompts are different and they are progressive. So here's one that is create a poem about second place.
Wow.
So yes, you know, I'm asking a lot of you as we move on. I think my favorite one is write a letter to your Dink, which is dearest Dink. And that's how you have to start it. And then what are you going to do with it? You know, what are you going to tell your Dink? You know, stop going in the net,
Right.
get lower.
You know what would be a good one? Do you have write a letter to your partner?
Yes, I do. I think I
Okay.
do have
Okay.
that in there, actually. And I'm trying to think of where it is. But it's also like, how do you support your partner? You
Right.
know, it is, here's one, who are you not? Write about a game you played and then change the ending. So,
Interesting.
yes, you know, it is, we play so many. I know that when I play with my friends, you know, we usually play 7 or 8 games, you know, we rotate and, you know, that kind of thing. But it's nice to notice, okay, when I play with this one person, I win every time. When I play with this
Right.
person, maybe I lose every time. So what is it that you are in sync, out of sync? Is it the game? Is it the mental part of it? And then the goal setting, you know, there's a 42% greater chance of achieving a goal when you write it down.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's so funny. My mom recently has gotten so into like manifesting and things and writing things down and saying
Yes,
what you're grateful for too. I think, you know, our daily lives go by so quickly and we kind of forget everything that we have. And it's like that saying, like, you don't realize what you have until you lose it. But it's like you want to realize what you have before you lose it, you know, type thing. And so
absolutely.
I think like all these things, like even a simple question, how do you prepare for your day? Like I just thought about that and I was like, well, usually I prepare the night before, but it's a
Hmm.
question that seems so simple, but I feel like it's almost like the simpler the question, the harder it is to answer, you know, because it's like, it's things you don't think about. You're like, I just, you know, I get up, I start my day, I make my coffee, I do this, but it's like, it's interesting to actually be like mindful of it, write it down, and then
Right.
learn from it too.
And if you're looking to change something, then it's really important to notice where you are and what you're doing. And, you know, there's that saying that you're not going to open new doors with the same old key. So if you are looking to change something, then you might have to look at your routine to see where you can maybe amp it up. Or, you know, we always say that, let's amp it up, let's do more. Or maybe you need to scale back. Maybe
Right.
there's too much going on. You know, maybe you're doing 20 things before 7 o'clock when really the most important thing isn't even being touched. You know,
Yes.
you're not tackling that. Yes, that is, I love the manifestation and the gratitude. And that's something really important too with sports and athletes. I have a quote here from Martina Navratilova. Keeping a journal of what's going on in your life is a good way to distill what's important and what's not. And it's that visualization of where do you see yourself? And also, if you can imagine the points and imagine yourself playing and what that looks like to you, it's easier to solidify that in your brain and in your heart and then in your body.
Yes. Yes, no, for sure. And just like as someone, like yourself that plays pickleball and obviously has since journaled about it, what differences like have you noticed in your game since you've started journaling about the sport?
I think the biggest difference is keeping track of my patterns and my themes. Just like I said, that backhand block. Um, I think I'm playing in a tournament on Monday, and so I've been working on that backhand block because I noticed after a couple times playing, and I would write it down, what was working and what wasn't working. And it's where I'm standing on the court, where my position is, where my paddle is when it's a backhand. And so it really helped me to break that down into the increments of achieving a new goal. So my long-term goal, obviously would be to hit, say, 80% of my backhand dink or block, 80% in. And then the short-term goal would be to work consistently on that, and have 50%, then 60, then 70%. Being a speech language pathologist, I'm very goal oriented. We would have long-term goal,
Yes.
short-term goal, continue, if the goal was met and then continued, or if the goal was met and then we would discharge that goal and move on to something else. So right now, I think that the ability to notice patterns and themes, not only on the court, but also in life, is what really takes journaling to the next level. If you consistently write down the same thing every day, when you go back and look at that journal, you're going to notice, wait a minute, I've said the same thing in the same words with the same language, and I'm not getting any different result.
Right.
Yes. It's just as important to notice when you journal as when you don't journal. So just like listening to the pause in music, it's really important to notice when the pages are blank. So patterns and themes, that's what I love the most when it comes to the athletic side of journaling.
Interesting. So when you do journal,
Mhm.
and let's say you've journaled for 5 days straight, so you are supposed to actually go back, read those pages, and then kind of like observe patterns too.
I do like that. I know a lot of people say, don't read back your journal. We are not talking about shadow work. We are not talking about trauma-based journaling. This is These are goal setting. These are more positive, leaning towards the positive things, positive prompts, getting
Yeah.
you to think a little bit more about yourself and where you want to go and who you want to be. So I say absolutely take a look at it and see what's the same, and see, there's something that you wrote last Tuesday and you think, oh, wait a minute, that's right. I wanted to work on that. And you hadn't yet. So I think it's important to take stock of where you were, and it's a great opportunity to see how far you've come. If you don't
Yes.
look, then you wouldn't know the progress.
Right, right. And I think that's hard. It's like, I don't know, I feel like my day to day, week to week, it's so fast, Monday through Friday. It's like next thing you know, like it's a Friday and you're like, oh my gosh, where did the time go? And you don't really realize like the little things. Like obviously we all have big long-term goals, but it's like, along the way you reach these short-term goals you might not even recognize that you've
Mhm.
reached because you're not, paying attention. I feel like pickleball too, something Dr. Eric Quorum and I talked about, it's such a fast sport in the way where like
Yes.
games are to 11, you can start losing 0-5 in a matter of 2 minutes. Like it
Hmm.
is crazy. And it's like, well, and that's something my mixed doubles partner and I have been working on. It's like, let's say like today we played and we were down 4-7 to a team we shouldn't have been, and that's when we really try to like come together and we're like, okay, let's take it point by point, like stay calm. And
Yes.
we used to not be like that together. And it's just interesting because now we actually do better in those clutch points. And that's used to be the area where we actually fell apart. So, this mental side of the game is so important.
It is, and that's so great that you can take a moment to kind of regain your composure.
Yeah.
and breathe and evaluate where you are. And I do believe that journaling consistently, in this 5-minute habit just makes you realize what your strengths are. And that's something that it's in Dink, there are weekly evaluations of your goals, and they're athletic goals, cognitive goals, and creative goals. So it's not just about pickleball, but you can take everything that you're learning about yourself and you can apply it to the game. The Olympics is such a great example, right?
Yeah.
Those elite athletes, they're the best, didn't get there not recognizing and not paying attention to their mindset.
Right.
Their mental
Well,
game,
Simone Biles, for
I
example,
know.
perfect example.
Exactly. Her mental game is as acute as her physical and
Yes.
gymnastics game. I mean, she's unbelievable. And we have to remember, no, I'm not going to the Olympics. But when I hit the court, I want my mental game to be there in the present moment. And I don't need all the tabs open in my head like they are in my computer. And I don't need the distractions, and I don't need all of the multitasking. So just grounding myself with the pickleball journal and grounding myself in the mantras. The drives one I just kind of love because the mantras, I made up the mantras, and it's, I'm a good partner. And it is, I do have some pro tips mixed in, which are Andre Francis, who is a local pro, gave me like mental game tips. And, I set an intention for the day and for the game. So it's little things like that. And these fit in pickleball bags. So, you can be maybe the odd duck and bring these and write in them. But when your game starts to improve, everybody's going to be like, what's the secret? And the secret's going
Right.
to
What
be,
changed?
the secret's going to be that 5-minute habit of setting an intention, paying attention. Where your energy goes, your focus goes. So, Matt Manassi actually wrote the nicest foreword for the book. And I think that he really said it so well when he said, may these mantras and journaling prompts serve as a guiding light on your path to becoming the best pickleball player and the best version of yourself that you can be. And that's exactly the message that I wanted to get across with these.
Well, and I think that's the main point, right? Yes, it can help your pickleball game. It can help you at the gym, whatever sport you might play, but it also helps you in the game of life. It's like the more that we can be present. And I know too, with like, social media nowadays and just our phones, buzzing off the hook, it's so easy to be doing one thing and thinking about, the 10 other things you have to be doing rather than just focusing on the one task. Like, for instance, you and I, it's like we're just focusing on each other and not, what we have to do an hour from now. And I think that's so important. It's such a hard skill to master. But like you said, if you take 5 minutes every day and just, take those moments to journal and to become more aware of what you're doing on a daily basis, that will just help strengthen that part of your life.
It will. Journaling it really is one of the keys to cognitive fitness. It can improve your memory. It can reduce brain fog. Some of the statistics, and I always look down because I like to get them correct. So 78% saw a benefit in knowledge integration and retention. There was a 42%, like I said, experienced greater goal achievement. 88% saw a benefit in staying focused and targeting a goal or achieving a target. 65% saw improvement in managing stress. 74% saw a benefit in what I like to call a brain dump. So when you have all that stuff in your head and you're not quite sure how you even can start to focus, if you have a blank piece of paper and you just write down everything that's in your head, there is a significant improvement in the ability then to focus on the task at hand. 77% experienced greater self-discovery. Um, and then if 59% saw an increase in creativity and 59% said it improved their memory. That's huge.
Wow.
So we
Wow.
can
That
remember the
is
score if
huge.
we start journaling.
I know you, so many people are like every point, what's the score? What's the score? Especially when, we change who's serving. It's so funny.
Yes.
Um, and for someone like myself, it's like funny. I'm like saying all this stuff about mindfulness because I've recently learned a lot more about it, but
Mm-hmm.
I've tried journaling here or there before. Like I remember a few years ago, one of my roommates at the time, she was super into it and she said, wake up every morning. I think it was like 2 minutes maybe or five and just write down every thought you had. And I honestly probably only did that for like a week or two. But for someone like myself that I think it is so important, but is
Mm-hmm.
new to it, how would you
Yes.
suggest someone to like get started?
Such a great question because that's actually why I started the journals because I do not think that people have a good understanding of what journaling could be. And they
Yeah.
do have this, oh, I have to have this beautiful leather bound journal and I have to sit in the corner with my chai tea and I have to look Instagram worthy. No, you do not. Do not make it so precious that you don't come to the page.
Yeah.
The blank page can be really scary. A lot of complaints that I get about journaling are I write the same thing every day. I don't know what to write. I feel like all I do is complain. That's why I wrote these because the prompts are there to guide you in a direction that maybe you wouldn't have gone. Journaling can be a list, it can be a sentence, it can be just your gratitude for the day. It can be two sentences of I'm having an awful morning, I had an awful day, and I don't want to journal. Fine. That's fine. That still counts. To me, I'm really not big on rules when it comes to journaling. My only thing is try it. If
Right.
that means that you have post-it notes and you're writing a little bit of maybe you're writing yourself a mantra and sticking it on the mirror, that can be your journaling for the day. Don't make it so big and important that you don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And for like, is it better to
Mm-hmm.
wake up, start your morning with a fresh mind and just write down your thoughts? Or is it better to, at the end of the day, when everything's happened, write down everything that's happened? Like, what's, I guess, a better way to
Sure.
journal if there is one?
Um, for me, the best way to journal is the one that you're going to do consistently.
Okay.
Okay, so that's number one. I do prefer pen to paper because there is a different connection in the brain with the handwriting. Different synapses are firing and wiring. However, if handwriting is not an option for you, typing is great. If typing is not an option and you need to do a voice recorder, that's fine too. I do wake up every morning and journal. The Storied Life Journal has gratitude in the morning, has a quote, a prompt, and then you can write. And then at night, I really do like to journal at night as well so that you can empty your brain of any ruminating thoughts.
Okay.
Especially we have such busy lives. We have
Yeah.
so many things going on. And if you're like me and you lay there and think, oh gosh, I have to do this and this and this, I forgot to do this. If you get
I
it
know.
out on paper, it's out of your head. And in the Storied Life Journal, I have gratitude and glitter at the end of the day. And so the gratitude is something that, just another little something that you notice during the day. And the glitter is something fun, something, a spark, a win, maybe even an actual win. Like I played great pickleball today. That's a
Right.
glitter. I made a great dinner. That's a glitter. Something little that you think, good job. I had said on a different podcast, you're probably a little bit too young, but we used to get gold stars on our forehead. So
I
in
actually
school,
think we might have, like, yeah, really young.
yes,
Yes.
yes. So, it's you giving yourself that gold star. It's the thumbs up emoji to yourself. And so I think you are ending the day on a positive note. So that is That is a little bit of morning, a little bit of night, but find where it fits your day and fits your lifestyle. And then add in the 5 minutes.
When I feel like too, just going to bed like that, and I like how you end it too with like gratitude and like the sparkle because it's like, yeah, sometimes you're tossing and turning before
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to go to bed. You're like, oh, I needed to do this. I have all this stuff tomorrow. It's almost like when you have so many things the next day, it's so hard to just like calm down, get to bed, especially like I work the evening news, so I'm not even getting home till like 10:30 at
Oh my
night
gosh.
and it's
Okay.
yeah, and so everything is just all at once, as I'm getting home and I try to get to bed as soon as possible. But I feel like writing it down and just like getting to almost like debrief and then
Mm-hmm.
also reflecting on the things that went well so you can also go to bed with like some positive thoughts too can really help you actually sleep better, which is so important.
It does. Journaling is actually proven to improve your sleep. And it didn't give it a when you did it, if you were in the morning or night, it just said can improve sleep. So
Yeah.
I bet that if you did it, especially in that kind of job, when you're bombarded with information and then that's in your head along with what you have to do, that's a lot to sift through and then put your head on the pillow and try to sleep.
Yeah.
So absolutely try it. let
Sometimes
me
it's so
let me know how it
overwhelming. I'm
goes.
so tired, I just pass out because I'm like, oh my gosh, what a day. But yeah,
Right.
and then I don't know if you have too like any things in your journals about like manifestation and stuff too when that and how that impacts sports. Is that something you include in your journalism?
It
Journalism?
I don't use the word manifesting as much, but I do offer prompts that are more write down the story of yourself doing something. And that is just kind of the backdoor version of manifesting. So
Yeah.
when you when you create a story, there's usually emotion attached to it. What you remember is the emotion of an event, and then you remember the story of that event. And so if we can create a story of what we want to see in our lives, what we want to bring into our lives, and you can attach detail and emotion and give it, dot every I and cross every T and be specific with whatever it might be. Create that story and live it and feel it. And then when that opportunity arises that maybe leads you in that direction, you'll notice it and you
Yeah.
can take it. I do believe that the more you know yourself, the better you are at achieving your best authentic self. When I do workshops, one of my favorite activities is identifying the pillars of authenticity. So we go through and if you picture like scaffolding, there are 4 pillars that are holding you up. And you get to decide what they are. You get to decide where they're going and if they match where you want to go.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think it's just like these little things. Like, I feel like journalism is so much more like accepted, talked about nowadays by both like women and men as a, form of coping with things or
Mm-hmm.
getting better at something, which is nice to see because when I was growing up, like, no one talked about it. I didn't know anyone that did it. And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
always like so intrigued by it and actually need to take action and do it myself. And if someone here is listening and would love
Yes.
to, get started like
Mm-hmm.
myself, where can we find your journals to buy?
So all of the journals are on Amazon. And on my website, which is karenfgeiger.com, I will be offering a workshop in September. The name has not stuck with me yet, so it is, but we will be going through that pillar activity. So it's finding your joy. It's finding the truest sense of you. Um, this is why I can't come up with a name because I've come up with several breakthrough to you, more joy. I don't know yet,
Or
but
like becoming the best version of yourself. I always
yes,
like that. Yeah.
yes, and that's basically what it is, and it's for everyone. Um, it's a roadmap.
Yeah.
this one is the Pickleball Playbook for Success on and off the court. And I've taken what is in here a little bit and what's in Story Life Journal, and I've created a workshop so that you can identify the truest you, and you can
Right.
give language to it, and you can give power to the language, and then you can give yourself more power and attention and focus. It's all about energy and using the page to create that.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I need to practice what I preach and
Yes, you
start
do. I'll see you in
journaling.
September.
I am doing that. And everyone listening, I'd encourage you to do the same. It's crazy, Karen. We're already out of time, but
Oh,
thank
thank
you
you.
so much for joining us. I've learned so much, and we'll stay tuned to see who will join us in the kitchen next time.